The courtroom was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning hum. Daniel Reed sat at the defense table, hands folded, eyes fixed straight ahead. He looked calm, but only because he had learned how to hide panic. 6 months earlier, he had been a respected project manager at a tech firm. Now he was facing a charge that could put him behind bars for 15 years. The accusation was simple: embezzlement. Nearly $2 million siphoned from company accounts over 3 years. The prosecution told a clean, convincing story. Daniel had access. Daniel had motive. Daniel had the technical knowledge to reroute funds without raising alarms. The company's internal audit had traced the transfers to credentials assigned to his workstation. To the jury, it looked airtight, but stories that look airtight often have cracks. The first crack appeared on the third day of trial. The lead prosecutor, sharp-suited and confident, paced in front of the jury box as a forensic accountant explained the digital trail. Spreadsheets glowed on a large screen. Dates, amounts, IP addresses. Every transfer, the accountant said, originated from Daniel's unique employee login. Is there any indication, the prosecutor asked smoothly, that these credentials were compromised? No, the accountant replied. There's no evidence of external intrusion. The prosecutor smiled faintly. He turned to the jury. So the only reasonable conclusion is that the defendant himself initiated these transfers. Daniel's attorney, Mara Caldwell, didn't object. She simply wrote something down. Mara was not flashy. She didn't pound tables or raise her voice, but she listened like a surgeon studies a pulse. When it was her turn to cross-examine, she walked to the podium slowly. You testified there was no evidence of external intrusion, she began. That's correct. No hacking from outside the company's network? Correct. Mara nodded. Would you agree that internal access can also be misused by someone other than the assigned employee? The accountant hesitated. In theory. In practice? She pressed gently. Yes. If someone had physical access to the workstation or the login credentials. And the company did not require two-factor authentication at the time, did it? No. And passwords were required to be changed only once every 12 months? Yes. A faint murmur moved through the gallery. Mara paused, letting silence do the work. The travel logs do show he was out of the office on several of those dates. Out of the office, Mara repeated softly. Yet the transfers occurred from his assigned workstation. Yes. And that workstation was located in an open-plan office. Yes. No security cameras directly covering the desk? No. The crack widened. Still, it wasn't enough. Suspicion is not proof. And the jury still had pages of digital records tying Daniel's login to every missing dollar. Then came the mistake. It happened on the 5th day. The prosecution introduced what they called their strongest evidence, a metadata report showing that the transfer files have been created and executed from Daniel's computer terminal, not just his login. This isn't just a password issue, he said. The files were generated on his machine. That device, his desk. He displayed a blown-up screenshot of the report, highlighting a timestamp and device ID. This, he said firmly, cannot be faked. Mara stood for cross-examination again. Calm, measured. You're certain this report cannot be altered? She asked the digital forensics analyst. Yes, the analyst replied. The metadata is embedded at the system level. Embedded, she repeated. So it would reflect the system clock at the time the file was created? Correct. And that system clock, who maintains it? The company's IT department. Is it manually adjustable? The analyst paused. In certain circumstances, yes. Like during daylight saving changes? Yes. Or if the clock drifted out of sync? Yes. Mara walked back to the defense table and picked up a thin binder. Your Honor, with permission, I'd like to show Exhibit 42. The judge nodded. Mara handed copies to the jury. It was a routine IT maintenance log from 2 years prior. Mr. Analyst, she said gently, can you read the entry dated March 14th? He scanned it. His posture shifted. It says, system-wide time correction applied. Internal server clock adjusted backward by 2 hours. And the transfers on that date, Mara asked quietly, occurred during that 2-hour window, correct? Yes. If the clock was manually adjusted, would the metadata reflect the corrected time or the original system time? It would reflect the system time at the moment of creation, even if that time had just been changed? Yes. So if someone created a file before the adjustment and the system clock was then moved backward, could it appear as though the file was created later than it actually was? Yes, he admitted. It could. And if that timing was used to place Mr. Reed at his desk, Mara said softly, when he was documented elsewhere, that conclusion could be wrong. The prosecutor objected, but the damage was done. The prosecution had relied heavily on the certainty of their digital timeline. They had told the jury it was impossible to manipulate. They had built their closing narrative around that certainty. Now it wasn't certain at all. In closing arguments, the prosecutor tried to pivot. Don't be distracted by technicalities, he urged. Money is gone. Credentials were his. The simplest explanation is guilt. But juries are instructed on something critical, reasonable doubt. And doubt, once planted, grows. Mara stood for the final time. This case, she began, is not about whether money is missing. It's not about whether mistakes were made in company oversight. They were. She looked at Daniel briefly, then back at the jury. It's about whether you can say with moral certainty that Daniel Reed is the one who did this. She held up the maintenance log. The prosecution told you their timeline could not be wrong. We now know it could. They told you the workstation proved presence. It doesn't. They told you there was no alternative explanation. There is. When the government asks you to take away someone's freedom, probably is not enough. Most likely is not enough. If there's a real possibility that the digital record was skewed by a clock adjustment they themselves overlooked, then you must follow the law. She stepped back. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When the jurors finally returned, their faces were unreadable. On the charge of embezzlement, the foreperson said, "We find the defendant not guilty." The word hung in the air. Not guilty. Daniel exhaled like a man who had been underwater for months. Across the room, the prosecutor stared straight ahead, jaw tight. One overlooked log entry. One assumption about an infallible timestamp. One statement. This cannot be faked. That turned absolute confidence into reasonable doubt. The missing money was still missing. The company would continue its internal investigation. Another suspect might surface. Or maybe not. But in a system built on proof, one mistake was enough. Not enough to prove who did it, but enough to prove they couldn't prove it was him. What do you think about this story? How would you have loved it to end? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like and share this video. Also subscribe to this channel if you support justice and would like to watch more justice stories.